Off top, orcas hunt moose. Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. I'm joined as always by the great Charlie Kravitz, and we have a return guest. We haven't had him in a long time since we left football season. It is the soul man himself, Benjamin Solak. What up, little drummer man?
Orcas are on it, man. Every orca fact is worse than the last one, dude. They're scary creatures.
Yeah, I mean, they don't prey on moose routinely, but in Alaska, moose do a lot of swimming, and there have been some reported facts or reported cases of moose carcasses with orca teeth in them, so they just got to eat what they got to eat.
The orca scout returning to the pod, like, dude, this fish is slow as hell, man. This thing can't move. Let's go.
I like
I'm not going to lie, that's on the moose. If you go into the orca's house, that's on the moose.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think that the orcas aren't there year round, and they just get accustomed to swimming across rivers and getting some vegetation off the bottom because it gets cold or whatever. And then orcas like, I'm hungry. Give me that.
There are no orcas in rivers.
Yeah, I guess not. It's a fair point.
I was gonna let him have it. Yeah, small orca, big river.
You don't know about the river orcas.
This is your ability to defend players now is extending to moose.
So, I believe that orca could make their way up a river, like a tributary. Like, there's no reason why orca can't be in a river. Actually, the more I think, it's not a lake. Like a big river, orca can get it. They don't breathe water, like they breathe air. You could definitely have an orca in the river.
Do you realize how big orcas are?
Do you realize how big rivers are?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the Nile, the Mississippi?
You're saying there's an orca in the Nile.
No, I'm saying that rivers can be big. Like, you're acting like it's just like a little creek behind your house.
Swim in rivers.
Don't you trust Google?
Occasionally, orcas swim in freshwater
Huh?
rivers. They have been documented 100 miles up the Columbia River in the United States. Get Charlie off the pod.
That man is starting off wrong. So his draft takes, I hope they are better than his animal takes. And he had me questioning myself because I trust him and like him so much until I thought about it. I was like, what? It doesn't matter what kind of water they in. They come up. They got blowholes. Mammals.
It's a size thing.
And that was worse than the original take. That's worse than the original take. So yeah, I guess I take it you're out on Will Campbell.
Arm length a problem for you?
He's certainly no Orlando Pace. I'll tell you that.
Ben, let me let you in on one of these things. As we transition to our football talk, me and Charlie have become, over the last couple of years, really close. And we talk a lot. And I've gotten to really know who Charlie is. And he's a weird tangent guy. You know guys like this? Where you say something and then you lose them for the rest of the conversation because they have fallen down a hole. And so in our pre-show call, the name Orlando Pace came up at the beginning of the call. I have not gotten Charlie to stop researching Orlando Pace and telling me Orlando Pace facts in several hours now. So prepare yourself. You're about to find out how long all Orlando Pace's limbs are. You're going to find out that he was fourth in Heisman voting. What else do you want to do? Can we get it all off
That's kind of sick.
Did you know that the term pancake was invented because of Orlando Pace?
But was the block particularly pancakey?
It was just the amount of pancakes he had in college. There was no terminology for it. They imagine pancake.
It was probably similar to the Travis Hunter situation where they're looking for stats to tell you how impressive this player is.
Yeah.
And, like, we don't have one for this. You see how many times he knocked this dude down? We got to get a stat for it. It's the same as, like, now we're counting snaps as a stat. Trust me, I'm on pro snaps as a stat because that seems hard.
Yeah. Max Crosby, man, like 460 consecutive or whatever it was. The guy didn't leave the field. He's something.
Yeah. 36 and 5/8 inch arms. Wingspan.
Yeah. I think you need to tell him like the average or someone else so you understand. Because
they're talking about Will Campbell. His arms are just under 33 inches, which is like the
it's like the cutoff.
The cutoff for tackle, and like he could be a guard. It's like nope, not Orlando Pace.
Yeah, Pace is just wingspan straight, Charlie.
That's just his arm length. So 36 and a quarter inch arms.
Yeah, I wonder what the wingspan is, because I find wingspan, when you explain it to regular people, that means something to them. Because you'll be like, hey, how tall are you in inches? And then you tell them an offensive tackle's wingspan. It's like, listen, This guy could yo-yo you back and forth between his hands like a basketball, right? Like, it is not a problem for that. Wingspan's where people get it. I will say I was doing some combine results looking at myself today as I was doing some comps for some players. I didn't know I was in the presence of a 3.89 short shuttle from Domonique Foxworth out of the University of Maryland. I didn't know we were sub 4 on the 5.10.5. It's crazy.
What? A draft nerd. Because most of the time people just care about the 40 time. You are on the shuttle. Yeah, no, I was like top 5, top 3 for almost all of the categories. Somehow it did not transition into a Hall of Fame career.
97th percentile to this day in the short shuttle, Domonique Foxworth. Goodness gracious.
And I have a producer who thinks he could beat me in basketball.
Not me.
Out my
to
face.
be clear.
I was about to say, Charlie, forget about orcas. We need to have a conversation. But, all right, good. I'm glad Charlie
there was
all the way out of my face.
There was a producer, and I have photos of this, I believe, still, who did think he could beat Domonique in a shuttle. And Domonique tried to backpedal. Lord. This isn't a hallway at the DC ABC
I
building.
remember that.
He tried to backpedal the final 5 yards and fell over and lost.
I did not lose. I fell over and won. Yeah, I fell over and won. And that same producer, I raced in a back alley.
Oh yeah, you gave him a 10-yard head start on a 40 and dusted him, which is great.
Went and got his.
I will say, a challenge to a 40, lose it with honor, whatever. Challenge to a short shuttle, you're gonna break an ankle, man. That's the easiest one to sprain something on. I would
this
never.
This is on a carpet too.
Exactly.
These are guys are in a carpet wearing khakis.
A short shuttle ever.
Yeah, I don't got it in me anymore. But the key to the short shuttle, like training for all this stuff, I remember all the training that we did. The key to the short shuttle is you have to turn. You have to start turning before you get there. And the other key that a lot of people don't know is you have to be amazing athlete. So
I was about to say you have to be fast.
Work on that. Work on becoming an amazing athlete, and then once you do that, then turn before you get to the line.
It's a nasty drill.
By the way, that producer was old money Charlie Hume.
I feel so revered right now. Normally Charlie trying to take me down, but Ben Solak come in giving me compliments. I like that. I like your shacket too. It's a nice shacket.
Thank you. I got ketchup on it last week, but it came out, so we're chilling. I'm wearing it in celebration. Yeah, it was big for me.
That is fresh. I like it. Charlie, one of my major criticisms of Charlie is he don't got no style. He's come a long way, though.
If only I could be like a fashion icon, Ben Solak.
Listen.
No, just try. Just try. Ben's trying. He's giving an effort.
I purchased solid color T-shirts, and then I purchased shackets.
Oh, accent shackets.
And then we just rotate those. We wear earth tones 24/7, and then occasionally a blue. That's how we roll.
Charlie, this got a game plan. That's all he want. No, Charlie. In Charlie's defense, he bought some Air Maxes that got some fun colors in them. And he bought some shirts, a couple of shirts that go with his Air Maxes. And so you got a game plan. You've built your offense around the running game. I like that you built your offense around the running game. I respect it.
There you go, yeah. See, I can never do shoe style because I have to wear like barefoot shoes, the shoes with no support in them because I got arch problems. And so I'm just wearing the most basic shoes possible. So I have to put the effort in somewhere else. And I put the effort in the shackets.
Yeah, you could get mocked into wearing different shoes if you spent enough time with Domonique. I promise.
I didn't do it. Marcus Spears is the one that put you over the top. You thought I was just messing with you when I was making fun of your shoes, and then you realized that when Marcus was like, no, this is a problem. It looks like you don't care about yourself.
It takes a lot of effort to look like you don't care that much.
All right. Marcus only ever going to see me from the waist up, only on Zoom calls my entire career then, because it ain't going to be good.
Thank God it's the waist up. I'm like FDR right now. I got like a little fleece blanket on.
FDR in it? Nice.
Why do you have a blanket on your lap?
Didn't even need to expose himself.
It's like a comfort blanket. It feels great. I feel like I'm being swaddled right now.
Charlie, there's one other person in my life who consistently uses an FDR blanket, and it's my 9-month-old daughter when she goes outside in the car seat. All right, gotta put the FDR blanket. That's what we call it. Like, grab the FDR. We gotta go.
My wife is always cold, and so I bought her one of those like Snuggie hoodie things. Mm-hmm. So she's rocking that all the time. You're hanging on the edge of the bed before. We got to get you a Snuggie hoodie so you can just throw it on and walk around the house. Does your wife constantly have a blanket on? Why don't you just turn the heat up?
I'm in her office, our guest room. And I saw the
okay.
FDR blanket, and I was like, this thing rocks right now.
Yeah, feeling it. My old washed warm purchase this year. My wife got it for my birthday. I got like slippers, like house shoes, and they're from Bombas or however it's pronounced, and they are like big fleece that go around your ankle. Dude, I was like, all right, I don't need this. Like, come on, what are we doing? I put them on one time, and I was like, oh, we are living king. We are. I treat yourself like a king, man. Oh, they were so nice.
Hold
so
on,
slippers,
you caught
beautiful.
yourself. You caught yourself. You said to yourself, "We are living king."
Yes, we are living. And I did try to catch myself, but it was too late.
Yeah, I heard it coming out. All right, Charlie, we'll get to. I see you rocking back and forth. I can tell
podcast
that
time. Yeah.
You're stressed about us.
No. Don't you want to talk about Sam Darnold just because I'm rocking back and forth? Don't put that on me.
Okay, yes, I can't wait to talk about Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold seems like a big Ben Solak guy. You're a big Sam Darnold supporter, aren't you?
So it's funny because like I was one of the few who wasn't coming into the season. Like all the film guys are like, watch this Sam throw, that Sam throw. I was like, guys, he like does not have it. It's just he doesn't have the wiring for it. And then I would say it was week 17 this season where I was like, all right, fine, Sam's got it. And the moment I said it on Mina's show, I was like, it was mid-December. I was like,
God.
I am a Sam convert. You all got me. And then he immediately embarrassed me on national television in 2 consecutive weeks. Why wait until then, man? I held up for as long as I could. So I'm iffy on a Sam guy. I'm iffy.
So there is some interesting Sam Darnold news, subterfuge, reports, whatever you want to make of it, from Charles Robinson, who wrote an article that basically said the market's going to be pretty thin for Sam Darnold, which I think is surprising, that even though he had pants full of feces in back-to-back weeks, we thought that he was going to end up getting a deal that was at least in line with the Baker Mayfield deal from last offseason, somewhere in that 3 years, $100 million range. But the options just don't seem to be there. It's either teams with high picks, whether it's the Titans or the Browns or the Jets, who are not going to bring back Sam Darnold, or maybe he could go back to Minnesota on like a 2-year, $25 million AAV deal. Ben, what should Sam Darnold do this offseason? What should he be looking for?
Yeah. I think, firstly, you got to cash in while the cashing in is good, right? Mm-hmm. It took Sam 7 years to get the iron hot in the NFL. It's okay to go chase some money. If, like you said, it might be a thin market, but all it takes is one team to give you a bag, and then you've got it, right? And so first things first, absolutely 100% go chase the money. I do think going back to Minnesota is a better option than folks realize. There's not a lot of potential loss, right? Like, okay, you go there. Even if you get beat out by J.J. McCarthy, you're not actually getting beat out by J.J., just kind of the team wants the rookie to play. You're not going to lose too much stock, right? Because kind of teams know what you can be in that offense. And let's say you get a Sam Bradford with the Eagles situation where all of a sudden during training camp, somebody goes down, week 2 of the season, someone goes down, you all of a sudden become a pretty good trade acquisition. I never thought the franchise tag made sense for the Vikings and Sam, because you could always get him on like a 2-year deal that has an out after 1 year, where the first year price tag was going to be less than the franchise tag anyway. So why would we bother doing the tag? We can just kind of structure around this and make it a little bit nicer. So I think going back to Minnesota is a better option than folks realize. And yeah, if it's a 2-year deal worth, honestly, I think 25 is low. I would expect it to be closer to 30 just because of how big the cap has gotten in inflating wise. Then yeah, I think that's a fine option. Other than that, I like the Raiders. Other spots, kind of tricky.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'd like to hear why you like the Raiders at some point, but I feel like the going back to the Minnesota challenge, obviously you're not going to get the big payday, and then getting traded to someone, you lose any bit of control. So if we're looking to optimize Sam's money, I don't know that there is a good situation other than actually finishing the season. And when I think about finishing the season with the Vikings and having another good season and actually doing the things that people think you can't do, I think that was the big problem with Sam Darnold is he fell apart in the ways that we expected him to fall apart. I think a lot of teams would have been a lot more interested in being able to excuse whatever shortcomings he had if it wasn't for him falling apart under pressure in big moments the way that we kind of always thought he was. More than this season saying, this season kind of said, this is a new Sam Darnold. And we had the precedent of Baker Mayfield and guys like that to be like, yeah, you can be a late developing good quarterback. That was all going well until the end of the season when it just started sadly seeing ghosts, and they gave us that storyline and it stuck around. And it's hard to I shouldn't factor in fan reaction, but I think the fan reaction matters some to the organization. And I was trying my best to think of a team that would be excited to have Sam Darnold. And I really couldn't come up with anyone. Like, the teams that are so desperate are near the top of the draft. The rest of the teams are...
Well, let me ask you this. It's the top of the draft. Would the Browns fans be more excited with Sam Darnold and either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter or Shedeur Sanders?
Shedeur by a mile. Because the
No. You must have misunderstood the question.
More excited?
No, he's saying would they be more excited about getting Sam Darnold, period.
No, Sam Darnold plus taking a different guy with the number 2 pick.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders, period.
Yeah.
Or Sam Darnold plus Travis Hunter. You think they'd be more excited?
The number one rule of the draft is the clip from Family Guy where Peter Griffin and his wife are at the whatever, and the guy says, you can have a boat or you can have a mystery box, and Lois says, Peter, take the boat, and Peter says, but a mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat, right? Shedeur, Sam Darnold, Browns fans will feel like they know who that is. They will get X amount excited, and then whatever, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, all the theory. Shedeur Sanders might be like Tom Brady, dude. He might be Peyton Manning. That's what the fan base will go talk themselves into. I think absolutely a Shedeur.
Yeah, I think particularly Browns fans have a better appreciation for how quarterbacks are and how random and crapshooty this is. I don't know. I think that fans have gotten a lot smarter when it comes to football, and I think generally you're right. The mystery box is a lot more interesting to most people. But this case, you are getting which seems like one of two of the shortest players in the draft, and you're getting a serviceable quarterback. I think that they'd be more happy with that.
It's the slingshot effect. It's every time a quarterback acquisition gets worse for them, the next one gets more exciting, right? Like, I remember Browns fans when they drafted Baker. I remember Browns fans after the Deshaun Watson trade. There was no, we've been here before, guys. Let's slow it down. No, it was rampant through the roof. We did it. We are out, baby. We have escaped every time.
Let's be clear. Those are entirely different. Having the number 1 overall pick in the draft and drafting a Heisman Trophy winner is very different. And getting a high-profile top 5 in the league at the time quarterback in free agency is very different than getting Sam damn Darnold.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying they'll be more excited about Shedeur because Sam is meh.
No, this is very different from Shedeur damn Sanders. I do not think that they look at these two quarterbacks anyway like they do these other quarterbacks. Whatever, you're fine. We can agree to disagree. I'm right, you're wrong.
God, the Browns have had some hilarious ones. They also don't forget Johnny Manziel. They had a homeless guy tell Jimmy Haslam to draft Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, sad.
We don't need to do Browns quarterback. We don't need to do Derek Anderson era. We don't need to do Brandon Weeden. The 27-year-old.
I believed in Tim Couch.
Brandon Weeden getting caught under that American flag. Hilarious.
The OG Tyler Shuck.
What was the guy? Brady Quinn. Yeah, that was
little Deshaun Kaiser.
Oh, so we're doing it. You said we don't need to do it, and now we're doing it. We're doing it. We're just naming it. We're just naming it. I've had enough of this, Charlotte.
By the way, I found a video of that short shuttle. You definitely lost.
Oh, send it to me. Well, I guess you gotta have to put it on the show now, and we've talked about it.
You celebrated too early. It's unbelievable.
I lost, really? I thought I fell across the finish line.
You tumbled slightly too early, and there was a foot that crossed the line. Sorry, that's why I wasn't contributing to this conversation. But I actually, from the battered fan perspective, I actually sort of agree with Solak that despite you will lose all logic and convince yourself that Shedeur Sanders is more exciting, because he is more exciting, even if he's not going to be as good as Sam Darnold.
As I established earlier in the show, I know you. You are not excited about Jaden Daniels. You are the most battered fan I know. You thought Jaden Daniels was not going to turn your franchise around. You were not excited. You are a battered fan. So stop pretending. Now that you found Jaden Daniels, you're a new man. But to be clear, when you were a battered fan, you were like, it's not going to work. It never works out. He's too skinny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlie's not a good proxy, though, because Charlie works in sports media. And so Charlie's job is to think through these things. Average NFL fan, no time thinking through things in late April. We go straight to hype. All right, not a moment spared on deliberation. Boom.
I don't know. I think the massive swing that I took is something that could only happen if I was truly delusionally broken by a team.
Yeah, I think so. I think your sports media experience was
My life
Trump.
exists in two specific segments: before Jaden Daniels and after Jaden Daniels. Okay, so I do want to move on to another situation that I think is really, really interesting, and this is what the Bears are doing right now, because they just bolstered their interior offensive line with, maybe they traded for Joe Thuney and they traded for Jonah Jackson, who missed a lot of last year with a broken scapula, but had played his best football under Ben Johnson. This is a team that going into last year, there was all the hyperbolic takes that this is the best situation ever for a 1-1 pick quarterback, and Caleb Williams was a generational guy. And then it just didn't turn out that way. The situation wasn't what we thought it was. Caleb didn't play as well as a rookie as we thought he would. But do you think that the moves that Ben Johnson and the Bears are making now are building things the right way to turn things around for Caleb? And I turn things around. I get it. There are going to be people who don't like that verbiage, but I'm sticking with it for what we thought he was going to be.
Yeah, there are a few decisions that are more obvious than this one. I don't know what else they would have done. This team, they cite the Panthers often as a team that did a similar kind of quick quarterback fixing by solidifying the inside of their offensive line. I think it also coincided with their quarterback getting better. So these things are connected, but so much of Caleb's shortcomings were Caleb's fault or the offense's fault and maybe possibly Caleb's fault, and not all on the O-line, despite the fact that it needed to get better. So that's the big question to me. Of course, the O-line is going to give Caleb an opportunity to improve, but he also has to improve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that this is the right thing to do. Let's solve the massive offensive line problem. Guy that's been in our system before and played well in Jonah Jackson. Guy in Joe Thuney who's been playing excellent ball for years. Wham bam, right? It's okay. We have the money. We don't care about the draft capital. We got to fix this now. Let's go. It's also this is a little bit unnecessarily mean. It's also the easiest part of the job, right? Joe Thuney's going to help your line. I could have told you Joe Thuney. If Joe Thuney was available, let's go send a pick for him to make the line better, right? This is the easy part. The hard part is all right, Joe Thuney's got 1 year. Jonah Jackson's got 1 year on their deals. Are we going to draft and develop? Who are we going to be able to find in the third round that's ready to step in there next year so we can save a little bit of money there and go get somebody else, right? Ryan Poles has made a lot of veteran trades at the helm of the Bears. It's been DJ Moore, it's been Keenan Allen, it's been Montez Sweat, it's been Joe Thuney. At some point, you got to pick some guys, and the young guys, and then the coaching staff that you have has helped those young guys get better, and that's how you build the bedrock of a team. So this is the right part of the approach. This is a right part of the approach, right. But it's not the whole part of the approach, and it's not the keystone part of the approach. So good first step, excellent. Yeah. But any Bears fan is we did it. Jonah Jackson and Joe Thuney, nah, man, there's a lot more that's got to come down the mountain here.
Yeah, to your point, the draft is probably the most important thing that happens every year. That is a bunch of people whose mostly names we don't know, but the teams that end up having sustained success are the ones who draft well. But at this point, the way that you have to fix this, and another reason why I like this decision is I did not love the Ben Johnson hire. And it's not because of Ben Johnson necessarily, but it's because of just the history of the offensive guru as a model that I don't think is replicable, because I don't think that you can continuously outsmart people. And so why I like this as a hire is because it does start to get closer to something that I do know works. Is Ben Johnson and his super good ideas behind a very good run blocking offensive line. And once they are building towards that makes me feel more comfortable with having Ben Johnson, because they're not looking for Ben Johnson to come in and figure out something new, because I think lots of coaches have a good idea or a couple of good ideas, and it takes the league a year or something to figure it out. Then what do you do after that? So maybe we'll get to the point where Ben Johnson has a second idea. We'll find out whether he does or doesn't. But right now, let's see if that first idea can work, because it seems like it should.
That's a very good point. Mike McDaniel theorem is a big thing, right? It's like, all right, you can cheese it as long as you want. Eventually, someone catches up, and at that point, the question becomes, do you have offensive linemen? Yes, no. Checkbox, no. We're gonna lose the ball games, right? Big people sport, and so it is an objectively good sign that first on Ben's list was not like, oh, my Amon-Ra St. Brown, my Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, no, where's my line? Like, we have to start there.
I mean, some real 40 chess by Ben Johnson here. Team gives up 68 sacks last year. Let's make that number less.
I mean, Ben and Ryan, but I would say the more I think about offensive line and defensive line is, I know it's an oversimplification just to talk about how important it is to the game, but I think about it a lot more like having switchable guys on defense in basketball, where it gives you flexibility. And when you're game planning, it gives you a bunch of different things that you can do to attack an opponent. When half of those things are off the board because you can't protect, I think that's why they're so important on either side of the ball. It gives you a chance to do more things, slow developing plays, blitz or not blitz. Like, it's just about giving you flexibility. I don't like Charlie's face right now. Feels like he has an insult to lob my way. Go ahead, give it to me.
No, I was just gonna say maybe rim protection is what you're talking about.
Nah.
No, the flexibility point is way better. No, rim protection. No,
I think it's switchable guys on defense. Rim protection is
not
the
the
same.
core of any NBA defense. You're right. Total. Carry on.
No, I'm not saying it's not the core of NBA defense. I'm saying as a concept, flexibility defensively, which includes rim protection. If you only have Rudy Gobert, you do not have a ton of team flexibility, although you have great rim protection.
I haven't watched that clip of Luka scoring on Rudy in like 3 months. Let me go find it again real quick. It's been too long.
Oh, it's the best.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You got me spiking. I see my levels hitting red. You pissed me off today, Charlie.
I was also just thinking about you when Domonique gets into his real basketball mode and he just says like, so-and-so can't guard someone. Like, they're going to give up 2 points every single possession. And you forget that, like, sometimes it helps to have Luka Doncic on your team.
He's going to be such a good math for so long, man.
There is something about this, the flexibility of the Bears. There is a rumor going around that maybe the Bears are going to go best player off the board and want to get Ashton Genty with that pick. Does this type of move make you higher on that? Or what would your reaction be to the Bears taking Genty with the 10th pick in the draft?
Good pick. Good player.
What? I was so looking forward to fighting you on this. I was like, I can't wait till Ben.
I like running back positional value, like all that whole conversation. 2025 New Year's resolution, man. I refuse to say the words positional value anymore. Like, I'm just so done. That the amount of people who've hit me with like, can you believe that Howie Roseman's paying Saquon Barkley? Yes, he's very good. What? How are we confused by this? Like, oh, Zach Bond, this is unbelievable. He was first team All-Pro. He's one of the best linebackers in football, man. Genty
Last season broke you guys. Yeah. Last season broke the nerds.
But like the thing is, I definitely like I am nerd. Like I'm there. I've always been there. But like it's important. Like for me, like I didn't grow up in the spreadsheets, right? Like I don't know how to make graphs. Like I don't have the I watch football through the code gene. For me, like the running back conversation was all right. Like the market is shifting. There's a lot more cap space. How do we find ways to fudge in the margins? But a field tipping, math changing, franchise altering player is still that, independent of the position that he plays. Now I will say, I was very confident in the draft at the time that Saquon was that player, and I was very confident when we hit free agency he was that player. I don't grade Genty out as that caliber of running back prospect. I don't see him as a number 2 overall pick Saquon, number 4 overall pick Ezekiel Elliott. To me, he's not that caliber of a guy. Very, very good running back, not necessarily that dude. And so at 10, like, okay, yeah, maybe that's a little bit rich, but that's exactly what I said about Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions, and then Jahmyr Gibbs got on the Lions, and I was like, oh, I'm not good at figuring out who the field tipping running backs are. And so if again, like the Bears offense is going to be good whenever it ends up good under Ben Johnson, in large part because they have a high caliber running back there. It might be a Dave Montgomery X, a plus 1B backfield, whatever, plan something like this, or it might be, hey, we end up finding our Jahmyr Gibbs. We find our guy in the draft who ends up being this like electric playmaker, best man on the field for us. However it goes is how it goes, but Genty at 10 is highly defensible.
Well, I guess I have to at least present the other side so people understand.
But before you do, I would like to point this out, Ben. There is one person here who has an Excel file of all of his draft takes and needs sorted with a regression model. That is LLM Domonique Foxworth.
Oh yeah.
So I am outspoken against the nerds trying to make us all nerds. If you want to be nerds, you could be nerds, but let's enjoy this game. However, I did do a regression model on all the available stats for a quarterback and correlation to wins, which obviously is not causation, but I just dumped all of the stats from True Media, all stats. It's like 50 columns of stats with 34 quarterbacks, and did a regression model, and it came back with clutch EPA as having the strongest correlation to wins for a quarterback, which is it makes sense. It's and anyway, I'm not a nerd.
Yeah, less about Super Bowl champion Jalen Hurts and his clutch EPA. Let's go.
Jalen, we were talking about this morning. It's going to be so. I love doing QB tiers. I cannot wait to piss off people next fall where Jalen Hurts falls in the QB
By
tiers.
piss off people, you mean Philadelphia, because I think the rest of the country is not going to be as upset by where you put Jalen Hurts on the QB tiers.
He's going to go at 6, king of the Dax.
King of the Dax.
Wow.
Yeah.
King of the Dax. I forgot that we created a quarterback tier called the Dax.
The Dax.
Oh yeah, king of the Dax.
Anyway, all right, back to this thing that I was doing.
Okay, sorry, back to Genty.
Back to Genty. So the reason to not get him is because positional value, the word that or phrase that we no longer are going to say. But if you are getting a running back, obviously the average running back in the league is closer to a high-end running back than any of the other more important positions. Also, you can get a veteran running back for about the same as you're going to pay a highly drafted running back, so it doesn't necessarily make sense. You don't get the benefits of the discount that you would get for any other great position. However, I believe that generally we need to shut the up about, I cussed a lot this show, I'm sorry. We need to generally we need to shut up about judging people's draft decisions, because I think there was a time 10 years ago or so where the league hadn't fully caught up to some of the information that we had, and they were just wrong and didn't understand. I think now, obviously, everyone understands all of the analytically driven decisions in a draft, but they are making a decision and making a gamble, which I kind of consider leadership. And it comes up so often where we want to be, the smartest in the room, and we want to be able to tell, I don't know, the Lions that they should have drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, and they end up being right, or Bijan Robinson, and sometimes we're right. But I just think that pretending as if they don't know and they're dumb is a mistake that we make all the time. I think we should frame it much differently, where it's like they are taking a gamble. What the hell's so funny, Charlie?
I think it's even dumber if you have all the information and you still do a dumb thing.
It's not a dumb thing, though. That's the point. It's that any type of leadership comes with taking risks. If you want to have a large language model make all the decisions, then that's fine. You create no advantages that way. At some point, anytime you're doing anything, you have you have to have some sort of conviction that this particular decision, that this zig is going to be what gives me the advantage. Otherwise, you don't create any advantage. I generally, as a leader, I feel more comfortable with that than everyone else saying, oh, what do the numbers tell me to do? Let me do that.
I love that at the end of the day, you're like, leadership is feeling it in your plums. This is what we're back to.
Ben, everything's a cycle.
For a second, I thought you were going to get off the hook. You weren't going to be the nerd on the show. Yeah. Domonique is just one-upped you. Football is about feeling it in your plums.
You know the bell curve meme? The bell curve meme where like at the left tail of the bell curve, it's like, oh, leadership is what you feel in your plums. And then the middle of the bell curve is like, make sure you make informed decisions from like a large perspectives and analytics and use models and collaborative effort. And then on the right tail of the bell curve, you know what it says? Leadership's what you feel in your plums, right?
Thank you. Thank you. And now, thank you for two ways for defending me. Hold on. Thank you for 2 ways for defending me, and also establish yourself as more of a nerd than me because you are using the bell curve. No, it's not. I was going to use like the just cycle of like learning in general, where it's like you start something, I don't know very much. And then the more you learn, you realize, oh, I know everything. Then eventually you get back around to, I don't really know very much. And fundamentally, I want leaders to make decisions that they believe in, not decisions that the computer tells them to, and then they can live and die on their seasons in their deathbeds by the fact that they had a conviction that did or didn't work out.
And
that's interesting.
Yes, and I think a very good case in point for this argument is the Howie Roseman season that the Eagles just had, the Super Bowl season. I was thinking the other day about the clip when the Eagles drafted Milton Williams in the third round of the 21 draft, right? This is a defensive tackle for them. He was a rotational guy, and then he became an important player this year. He's about to cash in big in free agency. They drafted Milton over a corner out of UCF. His name was Aaron Robinson, I think. And the scouting staff in the room really wanted the corner. And Howie took the defensive lineman because that's our team building philosophy, right? That's the middle of that bell curve. Right. We want to be a smart team, build through the trenches. This is going to give us the best chances to win, deep pass rush. And there was a clip of Howie going like fist bumping around the draft room, and he got it to those scouting guys, and they didn't fist bump him. They were pissed because they wanted Robinson. Robinson was their guy. Now, I don't think Robinson's in the league anymore. Milton's going to go get big money in free agency. That's the thrust of Howie, right? That's the general philosophy. Invest in the trenches, have a great pass rush, dominate. But the reason why the Eagles got to the Super Bowl but didn't win it in 22. Didn't get a Super Bowl in 23. Like they had this gap between the Super Bowls and finally got to it this year and won it. It's because of Milton. It's because of the Bryce Huff investment, the Josh Sweat investment, the Brandon Graham and Jalen Carter and yada 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 yada. But it's because they got Saquon Barkley and Zach Bond. They finally won in the freaking margins. This team that has constantly carried below average and stopgap running backs, below average linebacking, and the defensive line investment, the trench play, it's what separates the contenders from the pretenders. But what separates the contenders from the contenders is the marginal players. And that's where it goes back to, you know what? We don't usually play running backs. That's not our team philosophy. That's not what we think builds a contender. But the thing that's going to differentiate us from the Rams in a game that ended up very close in the snow is the fact that we have a guy who can score from 70 yards out. The first play against the Commanders, Charlie, you watched it. You're a fan. What was the first play? 60-yard run, Saquon Barkley. Hey, Zach Bond forced a turnover in every single playoff game for the Eagles. What separates the contenders from the other contenders is those little marginal wins. And those aren't going to show up on your spreadsheet. Those are going to show up on an evaluator going out on a limb.
You know where they're going to show up? Plums.
In the plums, baby.
That's where those marginal wins show up, in the plums.
I'm saying Saquon Barkley is a calculated risk, and that the fact that the market had been completely depressed by nerds who made his value significantly lower, and he had been artificially depressed by playing for a poverty franchise in New York.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But a lot of teams could have said, well, we're just going to stay the course, right? Like Dominique's talking about the timely zig. We're just going to, we don't want to be the team that breaks rank and pays the running back. And Howie Roseman, the analytics guy of all analytics guys, was like, nope, this is the moment. And this you know what this is? We'll move on. We'll stop jumping Charlie in a second. But this is one of the show axioms that I thought that you believed in.
I do believe in it.
I thought you believed that absolutes are for children and idiots. And you are leaning on these absolutes. You are leaning on these absolutes, like saying that the reason why the Saquon thing, the reason why the Saquon thing worked is because you could get him under market value. No, the point is this is a way to win if the guy is special, and it may not show up in your spreadsheet.
Yes, I totally get that. I totally get that, but I don't. This all was started by the fact. First of all, I don't think Howie Roseman behaves this way, so I think it proves my point even more. This is all started by the fact that you're saying that making a dumb decision when you have the information is less dumb because it's an intentional zag than it was in GMs in the past when they're making dumb decisions without the information.
That's a mischaracterization of what I'm saying. I'm saying that you are making an informed gamble, not making a dumb decision. Is that we on the internet want to be able to say this guy is an idiot because at one point it was really fun to be smarter than the GMs. But what they are actually doing, you think Brad Holmes didn't know that people were going to criticize him?
We are 1-1 in these debates, by the way. I'll give you Michael Penix Jr. and you give me Nico Harrison. You can take Terry Fontenot and I'll take Nico Harrison. We are 1-1. You cannot declare victory on GMs making insane decisions and saying it's because they have big plums.
No. I think that there are some GMs who make insane decisions because they made an insane decision.
It is a draw right now.
So I'm not taking the side of Nico Harrison. I'm saying that I'm happy that Nico took a side. That's all. I think the NBA is much more interesting and much cooler when everyone does not behave like damn robots. I'm sorry that I like the idea that Nico made this trade, and I've watched more basketball since then than before. That's all. Like I mean,
I have watched more basketball since the trade, and that I've watched 2 Lakers games. But any sentence that includes "I like" and then Nico Harrison, I can't. That's a contradictory wagon too far for me.
1-1.
No,
it's a draw.
I'm not taking that L. You guys don't like villains? What is it? You don't like interest?
I love villains. I love talking about how villains are wrong and bad. And
There you go. There you go. You enjoy it. That's why you like it.
This league.
This morning, some guy came to, what happens fairly often. People want to talk about Stephen A. when they meet me. It's like, man, you gotta get him straight. When you gonna really get him straight? Yeah. And the guy that I met this morning is like, when you gonna take that job from Stephen A? I was like, what? People love Stephen A. And I was like, and I said to him, people love Stephen A. That job ain't open. And the guy was like, no, people hate Stephen A. And that's when it hit me. Yeah. It doesn't matter. They feel strongly about him. And that's the same way
the
about
amount
Nico
of people
Harrison.
since in the year I've been at ESPN, the thing I always get is like, oh, have you met Stephen A? I'm like, no, dude, I have not. And then it's like, oh man, like you must hate Stephen A. I'd be like, guys, Stephen A's the GOAT, dude. Like, I would do anything to be able to do this job the way Stephen A does it.
If he becomes president, though, I may not love him as much as I do now.
Oh man. I think we found out who his running mate would be earlier this week, but I digress. Let's move on to this is sort of a 3-part question. So DK Metcalf demanded a trade, and
he received permission to seek a trade, or did he demand? I can't remember which one he did.
I think he demanded
I'm obsessed
it,
with
and then was given permission
to seek. I think it's so funny.
Sure, son. If you're going to demand it, we will give you permission to demand it publicly. But 1, should the Seahawks trade him? 2, do you think this guy's a number 1 receiver? And 3, what's the market for him? Because the Seahawks are reportedly, according to Diana Rossini, asking for a first and a third for this guy who wants a new contract worth around $30 million a year.
Should they trade him? Like, no, yes. I think you're like, he's got 1 year left on his deal. I would understand letting him walk. I would understand trying to get something for him before you let him walk. That's probably better business. And you're going to go through a wide receiver transition anyway because Smith and Jigba emerged and Tyler Lockett as it was released. And so, yeah, like I think if they end up with DK on the team for 25, I won't be like, oh no, they missed their window. And if they trade him, I'll be like, yeah, I kind of get it. But I don't feel like super strongly that either one direction is much better than the other. Is he a number 1 receiver? No. That's a hard word. Like number 1 receiver is very hard to figure out because like anybody can produce these days. Like we just throw the ball so much, and there's so many different body types that win at receiver. Metcalf is not I'm in my defensive game planning meetings on Tuesday. And certainly I have to answer the question, like, how do I solve the DK Metcalf problem? Because he's so big and he's so fast. But I'm not like, dusting off my Justin Jefferson playbooks and my Jamar Chase playbooks, being like, we got to get the brackets on this guy. He doesn't have that level of an impact. Can they get a 1 and a 3 for him? Heck no. That'd be crazy. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Like, that is way too much. Also, Tutu Atwell just got $10 million. So I have he might get 3 first-round picks and $50 million at this point. The wide receiver market is bananas. So I would not be trading a 1 and a 3 for DK. I don't think that happens. But man, like if you had asked me how much Tutu makes on an extension, I would have been like 2.4. Like it's out of whack. So who knows? A 2.2 would have been funnier, but sadly I'm not that sharp.
The permission to seek a trade is just about avoiding any tampering, right? Like giving them permission because you can't really do those things, but they're doing it anyway. I'm sure.
Permission's just a funny word for
next time Charlie asks me to do the pod, I'm busy. I'm gonna say I give you permission to seek out other co-hosts. You gotta be giving a lot more people a lot more permission to seek out things in your life. It's a good way to live.
I don't think I disagree with anything that Ben said. I think your way of characterizing a number 1 receiver is like there is obviously a tier system in number 1 receivers where there's those top of the league guys. And if we're considering them number 1s, then of course DK is not one of those. Is he someone that, to your point, requires some attention from the defense as far as game plan is concerned? Like you don't just, his name comes up on the first day. His name comes up and you are aware. If you're not calling it on the first third down, you have a double DK play in that week's game plan. So I guess from that respect, he is a number 1 receiver because he may tilt the field because of his speed and big playability. I have nothing to add to the trade. Like, that seems absurd to me. It depends on where he ends up and the fact that he needs another contract. He would be expecting a contract wherever he ends up. Makes it really hard for me to trade anything of value.
I mean, maybe Nico Harrison will be an NBA or an NFL GM and trade 3 first-round picks for him.
Yeah, get off Nico, man. He's a hero.
The contract thing is like, man, with how much the cap has jumped in the last couple of years. I saw Jeremy White, who's a radio guy from Buffalo, tweet this out, where if Metcalf signed for $30 million per year on an extension, if you were traded this year, it would represent a lower percentage of the cap than the previous extension he signed with Seattle. And it's just we aren't good enough at getting our head to catch up to the numbers as they're adjusting on this cap that, again, like in 2020, 21 took a dip because of COVID and now is exploding back up through the roof, right? Like our perception of recent history with contracts has gotten warped. And so like $30 million for DK sounds crazy to me, but then also like if that happens, I'll sit down and I'll look at it and I'll compare it to like Terry McLaurin's deal and I'll look at that team's cap and all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, no, like this is like, I get why this happened. This is actually kind of defensible. So the numbers are hard to calibrate to. They really are.
I mean, you didn't ask this question, but I think it's the only relevant place to go is like, is there a place where he fits well, where we'd like to see him go? The first thing that comes to my mind, and maybe because I'm sitting in Washington, D.C., is Washington, because like Jaden Daniels is such a good deep ball thrower and DK is a deep ball, like essentially that's his thing. He's a deep ball receiver. I think that with McLaurin on the other side and Deebo Samuel, I don't know if it works as far as like personalities work, because McLaurin is expecting money soon. Deebo is at the end of his contract, and DK, I assume, would expect an extension for anyone who traded for him. So it may not match up. It's just a pipe dream that seems fun to let Deebo work the middle of the field and let these guys take the top off the defense.
Yeah, Terry's got one. He's got a void year in 26, but he's got the 1 year left. Deebo's got the 1 year left. DK's got the 1 year left. That's that wide receiver situations. Wide receiver situations are already toxic to begin with. When like AJ Brown's winning Super Bowls and he's upset. If you put these 3 guys on contract years, it's gonna get squirrely. I like the Packers for DK. The Packers are a huge height, weight, speed team. Christian Watson was supposed to be their DK mold player. He just has not been able to stay healthy. And I think they need a guy who they want to funnel targets to a little bit more, because that kind of spread them and shred them. Everybody eats past the game, I think, started to lose a little bit of focus, right? There wasn't a focal point. There wasn't a tent pole in that wide receiver room. As Jordan Love would say, no wide receiver one. And so I like the Packers. If the Chargers trade for DK Metcalf, I'm going to fight somebody. You have DK Metcalf at home. You have Quentin Johnston. You have Kmart DK Metcalf. If we have 2 huge fast guys who can't catch the football and it's just Justin Herbert banging, I will be furious.
That's disgusting. Quentin Johnston is not DK Metcalf.
So insulting.
Kmart DK.
Why not the Chiefs? I mean, I know he did the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes.
Why not the Chiefs?
But he's just like, he is essentially MVS, except for better at everything. And bigger and faster and stronger.
And I can't say Quentin Johnston is Kmart. That's the same comparison.
MVS does a lot of cardio during games. How dare you?
My general rule is like for receivers to go to the Chiefs is I like receivers who can adjust stuff on the fly and can, have good concert and good chemistry with their quarterback. And I watched multiple Geno Smith interceptions this year, especially late in games, because DK Metcalf was just kind of vibing on where he thought the route should go. And so to me, I don't think that pairs well with Mahomes, who's such a instinctual player, where DK really wants the route to be like printed onto the field for him.
And as we already established, DK's a deep ball guy.
Yeah.
We can't
not a deep ball thrower, yeah.
We can't protect long enough for any of these things to work out.
He can only run straight, cannot flip his hips.
They moved on from Tooney. They need to get some tackles. Some tackles.
I will say, you talked about Jaden Daniels throwing a beautiful deep ball. You know who throws a 9 ball like you wouldn't believe? Drake May at the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
Put it down the field, baby.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure DK didn't, Charlie?
Yeah. He went on Katie Nolan's show, Casuals. Subscribe, rate, review. Love Katie. And said that he doesn't want to live in Massachusetts.
Yeah, listen, none of us want to live in Massachusetts. I'm with you, man. Absolutely.
Dominique, if you hear that, if you're a GM who operates by his plums, when a football player says, I don't want to live in Massachusetts, or I don't want to live there, what are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah. He's not my guy. And even if I am a coach of the Dolphins, I'm like, to publicly say that? Nah, not my guy. It's like, that's just to feel that way. One thing. That is where I need you to lie. You go and say, I want to go where I can compete.
Yeah, it's not having that opinion. It's just not having the situational awareness to lie is the problem. Yeah.
I want to go somewhere where I can compete. I want to go somewhere where I can be the centerpiece of the offense. I'm even cool with that. What I don't want to hear is, it seems like a bad place to live. No thanks. Like, I feel that way, but don't say it.
I don't know. It took some leadership from him to zag from the conventional wisdom there and say it out loud.
Your trolling has gotten so much better.
This is a calculated gamble by DK.
He's doing well, yeah.
You almost get under my skin. The problem with your trolling is I think that some people believe you're right. And that upsets me more than you trolling. It's like, he's got it. There's like 2% of the audience that's just dumb enough to think that you might be right.
Don't insult our audience.
Oh, those ones? Yeah, those ones deserve it.
Okay. So we're going to dive into a couple more draft stories really quick. Thoughts on, this is the rumor that was going around earlier this week that the Jets and the Giants both would consider trading up to number 1. Presumably that's a Cam Ward situation. Your thoughts on if a team does that?
Leading with the plums. Nah, I think it's a bad idea. I think it's a bad idea for these two teams in particular. They are, I think the last time, and this is not going to bode well for me, but the last time I was really excited about a team making a drastic move up was the Trey Lance draft, because it felt like that was opening a huge door to the possibilities, and that didn't work out quite that well. So I'm certainly not going to say that this team that seems that they're not ready for a quarterback, and we've had this conversation a bunch of times, Charlie. I think that most quarterbacks are so situationally dependent, and there's like one quarterback every, 10, 15 years comes in the league that I sincerely believe no matter where you put him, he gonna be nice. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that, there's no way to know, but if they think Cam Ward is that guy, then by all means, go up and get it. But if you don't, then I think it's a really unfortunate decision for two teams that got a long way to go.
Yeah. I will say, like, the Giants from 3 to 1 is not that big of a price, right? Like, you're trading day 2 picks, probably a couple of them. I feel like if you know Ward's not making it past the Browns at 2, and you feel like this is like a 1 QB draft, which I think is increasingly how the league seems to be reading it, right? Shedeur is probably QB 2, but not in a up there with Ward way, in like a top of the next tier sort of way. Then, if you want to spend the day 2 picks to make sure you go get that guy who you like as the 1 dice roll, I think that's cool. 7 to 1 for the Jets, or is it 6? The Jets are at 7. Yes, 7 to 1 for the Jets. That's like, more future first round picks. I think you can probably move a little bit slower there, and understandably so. Aaron Glenn was part of a long rebuild there in Detroit. I think they're going to want to move a little bit slower, and so I think with the Giants a little more defensible.
Can I This is where I have a hard time, and I think that you bringing in the draft compensation makes it a more interesting conversation. However, I also think that it doesn't matter, because you're not taking into account that when you draft a quarterback number 1 overall, I know you can point to Josh Rosen, but you're really making kind of a 2-3 year commitment to a guy, and I don't make the distinction between how much draft capital you have to give up if you think this is the guy. And so if in your mind you're like, I don't know if he's good enough for me to trade a 2nd round pick to move up, if that's where you're at, then I think you don't move up for that guy, because you know what he's not? He's not at least in your eyes, he's not a franchise changer. And this, to me, feels like more of a dumb gamble than I feel it in my plums. If you watch tape of Cam and you're like, hey, yeah.
Right. But you can get there on this tape. You really can. Yeah. Like, he's the one guy I think you can get there on him.
Then by all means, go ahead and do it. But if you're like, maybe, then to me that feels like you're setting, especially for these two teams that have seemed to have made a series of decisions, the Giants more so than the Jets. The Giants have just been on a treadmill of like Band-Aid decisions that keep putting them in a deeper and deeper hole.
Yeah, and now they have a head coach and a general manager on if you make the playoffs, you keep your job sort of a thing, which is like prime for trade future capital to try to be as good as you can now. It's very unhealthy. Yeah. But I will say this is where I start to swing back to the nerds a little bit when it comes to the draft capital mattering, because if I can get a lower investment on the trade up for Cam Ward, on that first dice roll at franchise quarterback, that gives me still the ammo, the firepower behind in 26 and 27 for if veteran quarterback hits trade market here, i.e. Matthew Stafford, right, didn't get done or whatever. But like, the Lamar non-exclusive franchise tag. People would bring up the Deshaun Watson thing as well. Like, I hope as a general manager I would not participate in that. But of these recent examples,
he done.
Yeah, you have the you have the draft capital behind because you didn't invest that much in the trade up. And I like having that chance to have that second swing. I understand what you're saying in terms of if you draft a guy 1, you either believe in him or you don't. There is kind of a binary nature to this is our franchise guy or he isn't. I agree with you with that black and white construction. But in reality, it's a range of outcomes thing, right? Yeah. It really is, where it's like, I think it's in Cam Ward's range of outcomes. If he misses, I can bounce back faster. I also have more draft capital to surround him, going back to your situational point, where if I have my second this year, I have my third this year because I didn't have to trade the farm, all of a sudden now it's a little bit easier to go get that extra tackle I need, that extra wide receiver I need to help him kind of break escape velocity, become that franchise quarterback. So I swing back to the nerds on this one a little bit.
No, I think that there's a way to get to that decision that makes sense, whether you're nerding or you're plumbing. But I do.
Great framework. I'll be stealing it for the rest of time.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I think that there's a way to justify the decision either way. I think, to your point, though, it depends on who you are. And so, like, we talk about these things as if we are the team, the organization, but in actuality, in most situations, like the GM and the coach is kind of given the carte blanche to make the decision. And that's when it feels like if the Giants move up and get Cam, if Cam doesn't work out, they're done. Like, I think you could make an argument that
Dable and Shane are?
Right.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right. You can make an argument that you're not. And then we haven't even considered the opportunity cost of, like, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. Like, I don't know.
But are Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter saving your jobs? Because that's the alternative timeline. I don't think they are.
No, I don't. I think that there's a chance that you can present an argument. Well, I guess that's probably the wrong way to go. So you're just in a situation. So this is so right now
the Giants situation is just bad. Period. Right. We shouldn't be talking about it.
Did you just come to the conclusion that they need to trade for Cam Ward? He needs to work, otherwise you're dead.
They should have sent everything for Matthew Stafford. That's why they were in that conversation, because like that was the salvation right there. That was saving grace.
They did not pay their bill. They got multiple warnings. They are behind. They don't have the money to pay. Mm-hmm. They got to go to the casino and put it all on black. That's it. From their standpoint, there's no winning unless you hit the lottery. I don't think the owner wouldn't let them do that, but they do have to.
I know that you're thinking from their personal perspective, but like from like a organizational management,
it's terrible.
Just draft Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter.
Yeah, you absolutely should. But instead, Cam Ward's going to go at 2 to the Browns, and they're going to draft Shedeur Sanders at 3 because they have to. And that is dreadful, brother. It's terrible.
It is terrible.
Oh, I don't know. By the way, Domonique, to your point, the once every 15 years situationally agnostic quarterback, it's happened twice in the last 5 years. Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow.
Yep.
Jaden Daniels is a insane inclusion in that claim.
Get out of here.
He was going to play for 1 season.
We're including him. I will not allow you to divide us on this one, Benjamin.
1 season.
I will not. Did you watch the season?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
What about that season is not replicable? What about that season is a fluke? Maybe the fact that he's super skinny?
I was about to say, get my man a sandwich. I'll feel so much better. Every time he hits the ground, I gasp, dude. Watching him, I was in Detroit for that game, and just like I thought I understood how thin he was, and then watching him move around, I was just like, goodness gracious.
So wait, hold on. You were at the Detroit game, and your takeaway was that he is too skinny.
No, I'm saying in person, you view players differently than you view them on the screen. And when he walked out, I was like, dude, it's ridiculous how beanpole he is.
So, okay, fair, whatever, sure. But I am on Charlie's side with this. As you get further away from an event, like you whittle down to just fewer and fewer memories of that event, and you are trying to, in good conscience, tell us earnestly that Detroit Lions upset of the number 1 seed in Detroit, the way that quarterback played is that now that we are months away from it, your lasting memory is brother was skinny.
I'll tell you what my lasting memory of that game was. Is Jared Goff done got it. We've all known from the beginning and he fooled us for a while, but we knew he done got it. 3 first half turnovers, man.
No.
2 in the red area. What are we doing?
The lasting memory was Jaden Daniels is that dude.
Yeah, that 56-yard screen he threw was really beautiful.
It was accurate. Oh, you're trolling. You're trolling the troll. I like it. Get him.
The De'Ami Brown throw to the right sideline, but that was right in front of the press box, dude. I was up out of my seat. Oh,
you jumped out of your seat. You jumped out of your seat. Did you? And you said, "Damn, he's skinny."
Oh man, no, that throw is something. Oh man, goodness gracious.
Felt it in your plums.
Yes, I did.
We have some serious scrotal recall to that game.
Is that a Arnold Schwarzenegger reference? What are we doing?
We're doing total recall puns on scrotums. That's unbelievable.
I don't get the connection. I just.
You got the connection. Okay,
I know.
last thing.
I'm saying like bring it up. Total Recall. Like what does that have to do with anything?
There's none. I wanted to say it.
Yeah, I'll tell you my lasting memory from Total Recall. I was a young boy when I saw that movie, and the only thing I remember from it, I'll tell you after we're done recording.
Another great classic movie that I have seen and enjoyed. What a plot. What actors they were.
It was 3, not 2. 3.
That's 3 complete recalls. That's impressive.
None of us. I guess Domonique, you're old enough. I have no idea what Total Recall's about, or that Arnold just said it.
Dude, couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you a thing about this movie.
I'm old.
You could make up a plot right now, and we would believe anything.
Just Arnold Schwarzenegger in a room remembering things accurately. Like, that's crazy.
It sounds great. It was the original Memento.
Quarterback play.
I got a last draft question for you guys. Right. This one I find fascinating. So imagine there was a player in this draft, a draft that really, I don't know, has, I guess it's a tier of 4 guys if you want to include, if it's Cam Ward, Mason Graham, after the 2 Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter guys. Imagine there's another player in this draft who's an inch taller than Myles Garrett. He weighs 5 pounds less. His arms are an inch shorter, but still 34-inch arms. He's a little bit faster. He's a little bit quicker. It's a little bit more explosiveness in the broad jump. He also went to Texas A&M, and you're thinking to yourself, why is this guy not going to be a top 5
how many sacks
pick?
did he have in college, Charlie?
That's the question. But he had 4.5 sacks over 3 seasons. How high would you draft Shemar Stewart? You nerfed my setup, Ben.
I mean, from the jump, I was pretty sure who it was.
I'm sorry, Charlie. I watched more. So we had this topic on the rundown a few days ago, and so I watched some Shemar Stewart and was really excited about Charlie's guy. And I watched some more of it. I'm less excited about him, but I mean, I get your point. Depending on where he is in the draft, like he shows enough. I think if you want to like him, the practice tape from the Senior Bowl like makes you feel good about him as a prospect. The Notre Dame game, I feel like you could feel pretty good about him as a prospect. Because I think when you have a guy who has all these measurables, I just think that I'm going to turn on the film and see a guy who just don't understand football. Yeah. But it doesn't seem like that is the case. Like he was a 5-star recruit. You watch him, he understands concepts. He finds space well. He just seems, I haven't quite been able to figure out when it's on and when it's off, but he seems to just turn it off. And certain stretches where he just doesn't play as fast or play as strong or play as low as he's capable of. And so maybe you know it's a project and you think that you can put him in position and coach around that stuff. And maybe as a pass rush specialist, we're like, you got 20 snaps a game, get after it. Yeah, but like putting him in the same sentence as Myles Garrett is like, yeah, nah.
Yeah.
I saw that tape. I saw that tape. Yeah, they went to the same school. Yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I saw that tape.
Myles Garrett could turn any, 1st and 10 run action sort of a drop back into, I'm pass rushing now. And Stewart just very clearly plays the run, realizes it's pass, plays pass. Just if he were put into a role where you're the primary pass rusher, we want to get after the quarterback. Our whole plan here is to maximize you as our star ringer pass rusher. It's a little bit of what Abdul Carter got at Penn State. Mike Green, Adam Marshall absolutely got that because that's what Marshall needed on defense. Then his numbers would be better from a sack perspective, but it's not what they asked him to do. It's an important role in an NFL defense to have an edge who can walk that tackle back, who can take advantage of double teams going the other way, push the pocket, keep the quarterback on location. You just don't want to be drafting that guy first overall because then it's Travon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson goes 2. And Travon Walker is a good, handy, useful player who plays all 3 downs for you, and everyone's disappointed, right? Because the sack numbers aren't what they're going to be. And so I like Stewart. I have Stewart. Stewart's 14th on my board, but he's edge 5. It's hard for me to get excited about him relative to the sack potential of some other guys, and even also the running game disruption of some other guys. Stewart's a good run game disruptor, but even then, numbers wise and production wise, isn't kind of through the roof. He's not as good at getting off of blocks and seeing things fast as you'd like for an athlete like that to be.
14th on your board, edge 5.
I like Green better on film. Green's got some off-field stuff, and I don't think Green's going to go before Shemar. I think no shot. But Green's film is filthy, the Marshall kid. And then I like both the Georgia kids better.
I guess I was asking, when you said on your board, it's the big board? So he's the 14th player, but you have 4 edges ahead of him.
Yeah. I think this.
Wow.
It's
a great edge draft according to
Where do you
Solely
put James
Souls.
Pierce in that? You have James Pierce below him?
Pierce is below.
Just because of character stuff?
No, because Pierce's film is not what I was told it was going to be. Yeah. I like this edge class better than I think a lot of people do in the league does. It is not edge class for 14, 15 sack guys, but if you want 3 down players, run defending players, you want useful players, 3, 4 outside linebackers who can drop for you. You want some guys who play the fullness of the position, not just sack artists. There's some dudes.
All right, I'm about to go to a Howard basketball game. Let's wrap it up. I do have a closing question for you, Benjamin Solak.
Uh-oh.
I've been trying to get to the bottom of this. Off the show, we have a running list of things white dudes say. What the hell does Godspeed mean? Y'all be saying it all the time. Does it mean good luck? Does it mean goodbye? What does Godspeed mean?
I think it's originally
Is
from
God fast? What?
I think it's originally from ships, isn't it? It's from
I don't
you
know.
said it. I don't know. Godspeed etymology.
You don't got the answer. You can't Google it.
I haven't been to a white guy saying meeting in a while, so they haven't updated me on Middle Eastern phrase. Middle English phrase. I apologize.
Obviously.
May God cause you to succeed. Right. It was originally God help you prosper is kind of what it was, and then speed became kind of faster or whatever.
Yeah, it was a lot more fun when we didn't know. You took the fun out of it, Benjamin. Just like
you
a
ask me the
nerd.
question? What am I
I
going
can't
to do?
believe you asked if
Look it up?
God was fast.
Yeah,
You think
no.
he made himself slow?
No, exactly. That was the funny part. We were having a good time, and then the nerd ruined it by getting the answer. Jeez. Well, can't wait to have you back. Thank you, Benjamin. Thanks.
This is crazy. I don't know.
This is
I'm out.
legit.
We're out.
Welcome,
We're
Ben.
out.
You just got gaslit by Domonique. You're officially a member of the show.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.